Welcome to this episode of DIY3DTech.com. In this episode of Design Talk, I want to share with you a little bit about how I go about designing something, or in this case, maybe a little bit of reverse engineering. So one of the things you might recall, I shared this Vise with you guys a little while back, and I thought, boy, it would be nice to have one of these, and it would also be nice to be able to change the configuration of this to meet sort of my needs. So what I did is I set about reverse engineering, and here's how I did it, because one of the things that I do when I reverse engineer something, I break it down into all its parts and its measurements, and I do this a little bit on the back of a napkin, but you can kind of see all the different pieces. So when I sit down at OpenSCAD, Fusion 360, or whatever I have, I have all my numbers, I've got all my relationships together, and I can assemble it. And so now over here you see the results of this. So I 3D printed this, and it came out pretty good. So I used translucent yellow PLA. Could have used a little bit more on the layers up here, but all in all it came out okay, or at least for a prototype. And so the other piece that I did is I took and I printed these bumpers out of TPU rather than hard plastic. So that came out pretty good, and then I'm using just some shanked wood screws to actually go on the top. And so I picked up a rod. There's just cold roll steel rods, and I cut it on a bandsaw. I'm a little bit off on the cut, but that's okay, because one of the things I took into account that I'm not going to be perfect on a lot of this stuff. So the way I set this up was a little bit different. You notice no holes protrude the front here as they do in this model, because I knew it was going to be hard getting these pins just the way I need it. So again, I made it a press fit, and they'll have to be pressed in. And so I can account for the difference in the two pins in this design. So that's another thing to think about. Again, think about your assembly process. Think about what you're going to have to assemble with. Now, I picked these pins up from Amazon pretty cheap in a package of them. So with this, I've also decided to use a 1/4-20 nut to insert inside here instead of tapping the plastic, because this is injection molded, I think ABS. And it's tapped, so I decided to go with the 1/4-20. I'm also going to use this 1/4-20 hex head. I've got a spring from a kit, and then as mentioned, I printed these out of TPU, and so I have some just shanked wood screws in there. So tell you what, let's go ahead, let's do a little bit of fast forward of assembling this and take a look at how the finished product comes out. Okay, so we're back. So here's the one that I got from Amazon, and here is the one that I did up myself, and so it came out pretty good. The one thing I forgot to have out here when I was showing you guys before is the flat washer. This one also has a flat washer. As you see, it acts sort of as a thrust bearing or thrust washer, if you will. And that may be one of the things I'll design in the future. Now, I used a little bit smaller rod than they did. So I think they had 5mm. I think I used like a 3 or 5. No, sorry, this is a 4mm rod. I think on a future one, I would go with a larger rod, because there is just a little bit of sideways torque that would be taken out if I went with the larger rod. But this is more than acceptable and more than usable. I can drop this into a vise. I don't know if you can see the vise over here, sort of like I can do the other one. I printed this out of PLA. I used actually 1.2mm thick walls, 25% infill. I think PETG or ABS would be a better choice for this. The nut fits in there just fine. Everything works really nice, so I'm happy with it. I'll put the files up on Thingiverse. However, I'm really hoping out of this whole thing, it's not so much that I'm giving you guys advice, but I'm also showing you guys how to look at things when you go to reverse engineering them, and actually how easy in a way it is to reverse engineer things. It's just basically getting it all down, having all the measurements you need, when you sit down to do your design work, and voila, you can come up with your own vise. So, and this is also the beauty of 3D printing and other making technologies, is just think of what this, actually, what you can do. Now, I have to be honest, the the cost of the two, this one's going to be a little bit cheaper, but not much cheaper. I think I paid like $6 something, and with Prime, this was free shipping. The rods, well, I had to buy a package of rods to get the rods for this, and the package was 17 bucks. But I got a whole bunch of rods, so I'll use them for other things. So what is my effective cost for a rod in this case? Probably sub $1. The bolt is maybe 50 cents. The spring is maybe a quarter. The other screws, so I did come out cheaper, I think, than this. But the pieces, and especially since I did this in Open SCAD and it is parametric, I can make this any size I want. If I want to make these inch diameter water pipes, I can do that. I can make this any size I want. I've only done that here in representative of this to kind of give you guys an idea, but that's also the beauty of taking this logic, is to be able to morph it into what you need for your application when you need it for your application. So, that's the thing. Maybe I can't wait for one of these to come from Amazon. I mean, now I can print this up in a matter of 30 minutes. I can have another one of these clamps. I can manufacture 100 of these clamps. And so, again, that's the beauty of it. So anyways, hopefully you found this video interesting, entertaining, maybe a little bit thought-provoking. If you did, hey, give it a big thumbs up. I'll have this out on Thingiverse. I'll have the OpenSCAD code out on the OpenSCAD site. So if you want to borrow this code for personal use, go ahead, feel free. Also, take a look at it, learn from it. That's one of the reasons I put it out there for free, is for people to learn. And be sure to hit that bell button over there. Actually, it's a reminder. You got to go down and hit it so you get the parens around it so you get notified when I put out content. Swag Shop's going to be up in the corner. Some great maker stuff. Check it out. And we'll see you guys in the next Design Talk episode where we design something else. Cheers.
Please click like below and subscribe to the channel.